Hello and welcome to Members on the Mic with the Troy Chamber of Commerce, where we connect with Troy Chamber members as they give us a glimpse into their company and share some of the business lessons they learned along the way. Hi everyone, I'm Tara Thompson-Cusack, President and CEO of the Troy Chamber of Commerce, and I'm joined today by our lovely co-host and Vice President of the Chamber, Sheila Denstead.
Hi everyone.
First, I'd like to take a moment and thank our presenting sponsor, Trion Solutions. Stay tuned for our commercial break where you can learn how you can rely on Trion. Sheila, we've got a great guest ahead of us today. Why don't you do some intros?
I would absolutely be honored to. Today we're meeting with Kris Powell, CEO of HRPro, BenePro, and MyCarePro.
So much pro.
He is a pro.
He is a pro.
Kris is a lifelong entrepreneur driven by one core belief: when employers take better care of their people, everyone wins. He founded BenePro and MyCarePro in 1990 after recognizing a growing need for cost-effective, people-first employee support. As the industry evolved, so did the company, renaming MyCarePro to HRPro in 2012 to reflect its expanding human resources consulting and services practices. Under Kris's leadership, HRPro and BenePro have become not only a trusted partner to employers, but also an award-winning workplace, earning a spot among Crain's coolest places to work in Michigan more than 10 years in a row. A Detroit native and Oakland University grad, Kris is deeply committed to his community, having served on numerous boards, including Big Brothers Big Sisters, the Med Health Foundation, Notre Dame Prep, and Automation Alley. And if you didn't know this about Kris, not only is he a leading innovator and a self-proclaimed golf nut, let me rephrase
Which is
that.
true.
If
I
you
think you
didn't
did know that.
He brings passion and purpose to everything he does on and off the course, and he's just an all-around great human. Kris, thanks for being here today.
You're welcome.
Don't you love hearing your bio? We have to read it in front of you.
I'm blushing already.
I know. Well, Kris, you do know you're absolutely one of my most favorite people. So
Well,
I literally can say that just so happily that
I
you're
try
here
hard,
today.
you know.
I mean, you don't even have to, which makes it even funnier. But obviously, you've done some amazing work. Can you talk through what it's like, how you transitioned into the CEO position, what that was like? You've had a lot of building, I will say that.
Well, the company, was started based on my sales ability. So, and I was a pretty dynamic salesperson, but it came to a point where I began to realize that I can't just be me selling everything and everybody supporting. So if I was going to build an organization, I had to really figure out how to be a good CEO and how to run a good company. So started that down that road probably in the late 90s. Was very fortunate to work with a gentleman who had been actually involved with the guy who created EOS, and he had a similar system. So we worked with him for many, many years, still continue to work with him to this day. So became part of a CEO peer group. I've been a member of a couple of different ones over the years. I find those very helpful. I would tell any CEO to be a better CEO. They want to become involved with something like that because you get feedback from people who may not be in your business, but sit in a similar type of situation.
Or even have some of the same hurdles, just in a different way.
Yes. And, in my first one, there was a guy who was the CEO of a CPA firm. Got a lot of good advice from him. There was actually a guy who led a staffing firm. I got a lot of good advice from him. So over the years, I've gotten a lot of good advice from other CEOs. And, they say it's lonely at the top. Well, it's not as lonely when you're sharing it with other people who are at the top. So that has a lot to do with trying to make things go. But, I had to admit it, in 1997, 98, I looked and I said, I'm really good at sales, but I have no idea how to run a company. And that's really been taking that route and learning how to do that well was really instrumental.
And a weird question, do you miss this? I mean, you're still doing sales, but do you kind of miss that part?
I'm still involved in sales.
Yeah.
I'm probably 75% CEO, 25% sales and marketing.
So you still kept your joys.
I love sales, marketing, making things happen because that's what really drives growth for a company. So I'm involved in it more. I do some selling, but I also do a lot of bringing in things and setting up larger deals and helping to feed our salespeople. Yeah. So, but yeah, at my heart, I'm still a sales guy who's
You're
become
likable.
a good CEO.
What are you going to say about that?
Yeah, I try. So.
We talked about earlier in your bio how the industry's constantly changing. How are you staying on top of that? How are you making sure that your company is always coming out ahead?
Well, part of it's just watching trends. I mean, obviously, I get, like everybody else in the world, I get 2,000 emails every day. Some of which are industry insider emails. We've been part of a couple of national consulting groups over the years. Actually helped us start one back in 2002 that we subsequently parted ways with because of difference in how things were looking. But so by doing that, I get to share. We've been part of trends that I saw happening out on the West Coast. So we have a lot of business actually in like Arizona, Utah, Nevada, unfortunately, sometimes California. And we see trends that are happening in other parts of the country, and they haven't reached Michigan yet, but I'm out ahead of them when that type of thing happens. Some of those have been good. Some of those have been not so good. There was a company called Zenefits, if you remember that, from probably 12, 15 years ago. We tried to duplicate what they were doing and fell flat on our face. And then they ended up going bankrupt anyway. So, I don't think they went bankrupt. They had some serious issues and
Didn't make it.
Turn it around. No, they didn't make it. They didn't make it as cult as Zenefits anyway. So,
how do you share that information with your team?
Well, we've built a great leadership team over the years, and I think that's been the most instrumental part of it. Once you really get focused on building a good leadership team, those are your key people that you share things with, okay? And you expect that they're going to share people, down the line with other people. But I have 5 different people on my leadership team. Teresa serves as our president of HRPro. She comes from more an operations background. John comes from more of a sales background. Aaron is an account management background. Mary Ann is more of a HR and administration background. And then Jennifer is in a sales background. So, we've got a lot of really good people, and our team works well together. Part of the discipline of this has been, I don't know if you're familiar with, apparently not everybody is because I keep mentioning his name and getting blank looks, but Patrick Lencioni has written a plethora of really, really good books. I think I've read every one of them. But his most instrumental one is called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And it really talks about the 5 functionalities that you need from a team. And core amongst those is trust. You have to be able to trust one another and be able to hold open and honest conversations with people. So by doing that, you get people to really open up, and you get people who are going to be honest. I mean, to a degree, the thing I would tell a CEO is eat your ego and don't pretend that you know everything, because that becomes a problem. I think I've seen organizations where that's a problem, where the CEO thinks he or she knows everything, and they don't. And, other people bring cross-disciplinary efforts and good input to you. I've had my ideas shot down by my team. I can't tell you how many times. That produces one of 2 things. One, yes, it was a stupid idea, and we proceed to bury it. And it was like, okay, maybe I don't know what I was thinking that day, or maybe I was drinking that day. I don't know. But, or 2, it forces me to go back and retool and relook at it and get different perspective on it, and then share that back with the team and then move forward from there. So, we've constantly been, over the years, an innovator in terms of what we're doing. We were one of the first, I'm just thinking amongst the things that we've done, we took, partial self-funding down to small group back in the 90s. We were one of the first to use, and it's funny because now everybody thinks it's just a normal thing, but when you think about like flexible spending accounts, health savings accounts, and whatnot, everybody uses a debit card. There didn't used to be debit cards years ago. Okay, so we were one of the first to adopt the debit card. More recently, we have really turned what people see as COBRA administration, which is, a very boring, commoditized type business that we do a lot of. We're in 36 states with that, with about 3,400 clients. And we've turned that now into a complete offboarding experience. So rather than just, here's your COBRA option, take it or leave it, we're offering people alternatives in healthcare. If they're retiring, they need Medicare supplement or Medicare Advantage programs, 401k asset rollovers. We've got a whole host of different things that we do along that line. So, and that's just recently launched this last year. So we're just starting to spread our wings on that one to make things happen right now.
Yeah,
So,
well, guys, I think this is a good moment to take a break and hear a word from our presenting sponsor. We'll be right back.
I'm Joe Vicari, President and CEO of the Joe Vicari Restaurant Group, which encompasses 24 restaurants throughout the country. With the addition of Trion, our general managers don't have to spend hours doing paperwork and putting people in our system. All that's done by Trion now, so they can work on what they are there to do, take care of our customers. That's why we rely on Trion.
You can always rely on Trion.
Welcome back to Members of the Mic with the Troy Chamber of Commerce. We are here with Kris Powell from HRPro, BenePro, and MyCarePro. Kris, I already know how cool you are, but you guys have been one of the coolest workplaces for 10 plus years. I don't think I've seen the list ever without your guys' name on it. But can you tell us a little bit more about how you guys achieve your coolness and how you're attracting and keeping talent?
You really, and again, this goes back to the leadership team, and you have to build. It's what I talked about earlier with Lencioni's book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. We try to permeate that throughout the organization. So I also believe that I should be practicing. We're in HR, so we do HR consulting. I do HR talks, what have you. I'm a big believer in practicing what I preach. When we come up with methodologies and areas and things that we think that organizations ought to focus on, we tend to put that into our organization first and foremost before we spread it out to everybody else. So, our turnover is, well, I don't want to say it's non-existent, but I mean, it's probably about 5 or 6% a year.
Yeah.
I mean, we lose 1 or 2 people and keep hiring more. And, you do find we've gotten better once you really define who you are as a culture and what you're about. You start hiring the people that fit there. Mm-hmm. And I mean, this is strange to say, but we do have a lot of laughter that goes on in our office and fun stuff. And if during the course of the interview I hear people laughing, I pretty much can predict that person's going to get hired, just because they have a good sense of humor. And we spend a significant portion of our lives working. It shouldn't be a pain in the butt. Mm-hmm. It should be something that people enjoy doing and look forward to. Now, there are good days and bad days, but on an overall basis, it should be something that people take pride in. We've got a good team. I hear it said, we do a lot of cultural testing, if you will. So we do a constant quarterly thing where we ask for people's feedback as to how things are going and what's good, what's bad, and what's not. So, and we react from that. So, we take action based on that. And we've seen, when we were having we were pre-COVID, it's almost like BC. And
We say we call it pre-co.
AD,
Pre-co.
Yeah, anyway, but pre-COVID, we were flying high. I mean, everybody was just, and then we had kind of a weakening in terms of what was going on, and we had some problems and some cultural issues and what have you, and we got a lot of feedback on that. We made adjustments for it. So yeah, I mean, it part of it's just making sure, I have Powell's principles. Principle number 1 is be the boss you'd want to work for, which is kind of, as I put it, the golden rule restated in a boss sort of way. But people need to focus on a good CEO or a good leader will focus on making sure that, don't be an, can I say this? Don't be an a-hole.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we've all worked for those people over the years. I think that's kind of how I went into business by myself. Was I got fired by one of them, but so, it's just, that's been the way things are, and we've created a great culture. And we have a lot of people give the feedback. It's like a family here. Yeah. So
I've never walked so every time I've been to visit you guys, I do hear laughter and I do see smiles, and it's funny because you don't see that everywhere. So it is really refreshing. You're like, that's normal. Like
Powell's
geez.
principle number 4 is laugh, because aside from death and taxes, and we all know what a pain in the butt the last part is, nothing's that serious, and nothing's there's a piece of humor in just about everything. So
Love it.
So from starting here to coming here to where you are now, how's your leadership style evolved? What's are some things that may have influenced that pre-co and post-co?
Well, I don't know that. I don't know that COVID really influenced my leadership style. I think it's been more, it's an age and wisdom thing to a degree. So when I was younger, I was a bit more pompous. I was a hotshot sales guy. And I think becoming a good CEO was about learning. And I'm still pompous, but I've gained a certain level of humility in understanding that I don't know everything. I don't know, I served on a board, we won't say wherefore, but anyway. And so much of what this board did, might have been at a golf club, so much of what this board did was operational stuff. And I'm sitting there, I mean, I don't do operational stuff in my own organization. I mean, Teresa, Marianne, Aaron, and other people do all that. And I'm sitting there, I'm going, what am I doing here? So, I've learned a lot from being on some boards. I would tell you I did 10 years on the board at Notre Dame Prep. I'm back on the board now. But I learned a lot from that. And I learned a lot from people, and I learned a lot about insight and guidance and strategy and what have you. That's very gratifying. Some of these boards just are, you wonder what the heck you're doing there.
You shouldn't be talking about ordering T-shirts.
Yeah,
So.
exactly.
Been on a few of those myself, buddy. So obviously we'll kind of wrap this up, but when we talk through the company's grown over the years, you've seen a lot of changes within the industry. What are some of those big changes that have occurred?
The biggest one I would say, and I mean, this is, I guess I'm going to date myself here. This is over 30, almost 36 years now, is people have become, and organizations have realized that people are a much more important asset. It used to be, if I go back to, years ago, companies would look at people as just being a unit of production. Mm-hmm. It was like that and the machinery and everything else. And that was, whereas I think we've seen in recent years an evolution of really having an appreciation for people and what their asset value they bring to the organization as a whole. And, we like to say that people are your greatest asset and your greatest challenge all at the same time. But I think that's been the biggest thing we've seen is an appreciation of live human beings. Now, of course, we're all facing AI and saying what's going to happen there. And my prediction on that is AI is not, yes, it will change positions. Mm-hmm. But, we've been through this. I don't know if everybody understands what the term Luddite stands for, but it was a movement back in the 1880s in Great Britain that, they hated the fact machines were taking over. Okay, so they wanted to destroy all the machines. So I just tell people, don't be a Luddite. There is going to be an evolution that happens, but if anything, I think AI will probably empower people more. But people are also going to have to get an education and learn about what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And, while I won't get into the failings of our educational system in this country, there are many.
Another broadcast.
That's another broadcast, yeah.
I'm still mad about cursive, so sorry.
So, but while, there's been that type of a sea change, I think AI will eventually power people to use more of their intelligence. I think that's what you've seen. That's really when we started, we didn't used to all have computers on our desk or in our laps or, on our phones or on our tablets or what have you. Now they're everywhere. But that's enabled people to do more thinking work and dealing one-to-one with people and to get out of having to do the more manual tasks. And I think that's been one of the important parts of technology evolution and how it's empowered people. And I think AI will just take us down the road further than that. So,
very cool. Well, we certainly appreciate you being here today. If you could leave our future leaders with one quick nugget of advice, what would that be?
Is this
one
one in the
that you
program?
can say on the air.
Build a team around you. I mean, that's the most important part. It's fine to have an ego. Just don't let your ego override everything. I mean, there's nobody that's ever started a company that doesn't have a pretty good size ego. But don't let that override everything, and make sure that you build a team up around you that can help you to deal with things. I look good all the time because I have people that help me to look good. And we have a great organization, and that's why we look good as an organization. So.
Love it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today. I feel like we've got a lot of nuggets of wisdom this time. So that's all we have here today on Members on the Mic with the Troy Chamber of Commerce. Special thanks to Kris Powell from HRPro, BenePro, and MyCarePro. I like that I can say all the pros in one. To learn more about the Troy Chamber of Commerce, go to troychamber.com. Thanks, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. Bye now.